Vaush, why don't you acknowledge your bad take? Public transit is a safe space in regards to police and overdose. No, it's... Wait, public transit isn't a safe space for anything. It's public transit. Get to where you're trying to go. We all have a civic responsibility to treat our environment well. Because if we don't do that, then all this shit becomes, like, untenable, man. I think if you ask the average American, like, hey, why don't you use public transportation more? One of the most frequent responses you'll get would be somebody saying, like, basically, like, there are a lot of, like, sussy people on there. Like, that would be a really common response, I think. I wouldn't blame them for feeling that way. I hate it when people are sussy around me. Some people are not choosing their circumstances or what is most survivable to them. We are talking about smoking crack on a subway. You can choose to not... No, I'm sorry. I'm not buying into this. If we had proper mental health services, we'd have less sussy people in general. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. That's a pretty big part of it. Why haven't you looked to understand drug use has the same conditions of poverty? Do you also blame people for being poor? This has nothing to do with blaming people for being anything. Don't do that shit on the subway. But the subway is the safest place for them. Support it till there's a better option. No, I don't support it. And I also don't think the subway is the safest place to do crack. I don't buy that. I don't think that's true at all. Vaush, describe why it's not the safest place for them. Listen, even if it was... So first of all, a subway is not a safe place at all. People get hurt there all the time. So the idea that it's safe is not the case. Also, metro cops are, like, everywhere. So the idea that it's the safest place to do crack is not true, for one. For two, I don't care even if it was. Even if it was the safest place for them to do crack, I don't care. It's a subway. It's a public utility that exists not for people to do crack, but for people to get moved from one place to another. I don't care if it's, like, a convenient place to do your crack. I do not respect their crack journey. Vaush, homeless people exist publicly inherently. Your argument is bullshit. Center Spiral, if you want to do crack on the subway, I'm not telling you that you can't do it, okay? You can't do what you want, okay? Why are you taking this stand? What is happening? No fun allowed. That's my position. That's my principled, ethical, socialist position. Not even to mention the safety of other people, man. Like, people who do crack on the subway aren't the most stable people, you know? Like, there's this really weird lefty position that every person who's homeless or every, like, homeless drug addict or whatever, or every super poor person on the street are all, like, really safe, innocent, on... That's like, come on, right? Like, especially with the homelessness thing, man. I'm, like, super hard on the LAPD for what they did to homeless people in LA and in Humboldt with the Humboldt police and everything. But the idea that homeless people aren't potentially, at least, a danger is really weird. I don't know where that, like... I don't know. A lot of lefties just seem to be willfully, like, delusional on that. Oh, neat. Drug users are criminals trope? Well, yeah, Center Spiral, by definition, yes, drug users, if by drugs you mean crack, are criminals. That is true. Yes. But more broadly, if your position is people who do crack on the subway might be a threat to others, yes, I also believe that. You'd do well to say why the homeless are more hostile, because a lot of them are mentally ill drug addicts. Are we too woke to say that? Is that not PC? That's true. That's a big reason. Doesn't mean we shouldn't, like, fix the social problems that cause them to be in that position. We absolutely should, but I don't know why we have to pretend that that's not a thing. Vaush, I was letting my dog in, but if all you point to is criminality based on unjust laws, criminality is a legal definition, so I would point to unjust laws for the definition of criminality. Crack addicts, agents of coolness, and heroin addicts, methods, yeah. Can you just compare this to why we don't smoke cigs or anything else either? That's the point I've been making in chat. Well, yeah, you shouldn't smoke cigarettes in the subway either. You're in a contained space. Like, yeah. You shouldn't drink on the subway either, even though drinking doesn't even produce fumes that other people inhale. It's because these chemical substances can be disruptive towards the environment that we're trying to cultivate here, which is a clean, socially accessible one, you know? Homelessness is the problem, not crack. Crack is also not good, just to be clear. Just so we're all fully clear on my positions here. I'm not anti-homelessness, pro-crack. I'm anti-homelessness and anti-crack. I do believe in drug decriminalization, but that doesn't mean I'm not anti those drugs. It just means I don't think they should be criminalized. Why is everyone being so pepega? I don't know. It's all good. Jordan Peterson said you should air fry Wagyu beef. I saw that, man. That was so funny, dude. Holy shit. I forgot what pepega means. Nothing good. His food takes are insane. Well, yeah, man. I mean, he's literally been, like lobotomized by his daughter. And he did that all-meat diet, and he looks like a ghoul dying. Not surprising to me, he might have bad takes on the subject. Tucker Carlson supporting smoking on the House floor. Yeah, I noticed that Tucker Carlson did a segment recently where he was, like, defending smoking? Not even, like, the right to smoke, but, like, actively defending smoking itself. I can't believe how often the culture war discourse boils down to, like, I'm going to crush my greasy cock and balls with this big rock. Oh god, like, every time. Literally just supporting bad things because they're bad. It's incredible. The level of contrarian bullshit. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Give me tortured cock and ball. That's good. That's really good, actually. Should alcohol be permitted on planes? Yeah, you can drink alcohol in first class. Sometimes Vaush has said people shouldn't drink on trains either. Okay, wait, to be clear. When I said people shouldn't drink on trains, what I meant was, like, the subway. If you're on like a one of those long, like, Pacific Coast Highway trains or whatever, like one of the ones that have, like, actual cabin seats and stuff, that I'm okay with. I don't consider, like, those big, like, interstate trains to be public transportation in the same way that I'd consider, like, a bus or a, yeah, like a subway car, public transportation, you know? Those trains, you actually, like, get a ticket and you have your own, like, little section of it. It's like a separate thing, you know? Also, in planes, you don't just drink a brown bag of 40 that you bring with you. They serve you the alcohol, and there's also an air marshal on board. Why shouldn't you get a drink on the subway? Because on the subway, you're, like, packed into a car with a bunch of other people who are just there to, like, get to their work or whatever. You're like, just on seats. You're just, like, sloshing around in a big car container. You're not, like, in a separate cabin that you've paid a ticket for. Cop? Oh, God, why are you guys so obsessed with making things worse for the people around you? Should you be able to drink and drive, be honest? Well, obviously drinking and driving is okay, because the car you're in is your own vehicle. It's not public transportation, so you don't have to adhere to public decorum. Obviously, it just makes sense. Sorry, I'm just still stunned as you homed me as wanting to do crack in the subway because you can't justify... Center Spire, what are you saying? Can't justify your intolerance of people existing in the conditions they have no choice in. Listen, if the conditions they have no choice in is doing crack on the subway, then they do have a choice, and the choice is to not do crack on the subway. I'm standing by that. You can't just always fall back on your choices, chat. You have to... Yeah, okay, guys. Remember, systemic critique doesn't mean you don't do the personal responsibility memes, right? Like, systemically, we understand that men are socially discouraged from, showing their emotions and being sociable, but that doesn't mean that they don't have to exercise personal responsibility when it comes to not being a freak around women, right? Like, yeah. Likewise, I sympathize with the conditions that lead to poverty, but don't do crack on my subway train. Hated one not coming on L. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I wonder if maybe there's a time zone confusion? He's busy smoking crack on the subway. Oh, shit! It all comes back around. We get into a pitched 6-hour debate where the finishing blow for me actually comes on the subway crack issue. Debate center spiral. I am, just from chat. I don't know if I want to put up a debate on my channel that's like, is it ethical? Should you smoke crack on subway cars? Lefties discuss. Don't smoke in public, but there should be places you can do drugs safely. Yes, I agree with that. I mean, I agree with the logic behind safe injection sites, so it makes sense that I would agree with safe crack smoking sites, though since that doesn't use needles, it doesn't really... It's not necessary in the same way, I guess, but... Can I smoke crack in your bathroom? No. Denying you. I'm denying you in an authoritarian fashion. I feel like the subway's got to be one of the top 5 places to not smoke crack. That's my personal opinion as well, but I'll admit that I'm not an expert at smoking crack. Not an experience I've ever had. High on life, etc., etc. Danil? Danil? Wow. I am careful. He's wiggly. Here. He wants to go. Here. Scrungly.